Biden is not fully supporting Israel's war, far-right Israeli Minister Ben Gvir tells Wall Street Journal. U.S. President Joe Biden is not fully supporting Israel's goals in its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir told the Wall Street Journal. Instead of giving us his full backing, Biden is busy with giving humanitarian aid and fuel to Gaza, which goes to Hamas, he said. If Trump was in power, the U.S. conduct would be completely different, Ben-Gvir, head of the nationalistic Jewish Power Party, added. Benny Gantz, a former defense minister and a member of Israel's war cabinet, hit back at Ben-Gvir, calling his comments irresponsible in a post on X and urging Netanyahu to call him to order. It is permissible to have disputes, even with our largest and most important ally, the United States, but they must be conducted in the relevant forums and not in irresponsible statements in the media, which harm the strategic relations of the State of Israel, the security of the state, and the war effort at this time, he said. Head of the opposition Yair Lapid also slammed Ben-Gvir's comments on X, saying that the interview was a direct attack on Israel's international standing, a direct assault on the war effort, harmful to Israel's security, and, above all, proves that he understands nothing about foreign policy. Netanyahu is under pressure from all sides, as disputes in his coalition and war cabinet threaten to bring the government to a breaking point, and large rallies across the country are demanding he step down and send the country to an election.
We have issued repeated warnings to the Houthis, says British Foreign Secretary. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said Sunday that the UK and US carried out strikes on Houthi military targets after repeated warnings to the Iran-backed group. The UK and the US have carried out further strikes on Houthi military targets, Cameron said in a statement posted on X, adding, "We have issued repeated warnings to the Houthis. Their reckless actions are putting innocent lives at risk, threatening the freedom of navigation and destabilizing the region," Cameron continued. "The Houthi attacks must stop," he wrote. Saturday's strikes in Yemen. The US and UK conducted strikes with the support of several other countries on at least 30 Houthi targets across 13 locations in Yemen from air and surface platforms, according to officials, in a joint statement with Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands and New Zealand released Saturday. They said, "Our aim remains to de-escalate tensions and restore stability in the Red Sea." Mohammed al-Bukaidi, a top member of the Houthi Political Council, warned on X Saturday that the Houthis will meet escalation with escalation, and will continue their military operations against Israel until the crimes of genocide in Gaza are stopped.
Anti-government protests in Israel draw thousands as frustrations grow over hostage crisis. Thousands of people protested in parts of Israel on Saturday to demand a change in government and the release of the remaining Israeli hostages in Gaza. In the coastal town of Caesarea, protesters rallied in the rain before marching toward one of the private residences of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Some were seen calling for the Prime Minister's removal, chanting, "Guilty, guilty, guilty." In Tel Aviv, protesters gathered at Habima Square to call for immediate elections in what was the third weekend in a row of demonstrations directly targeting Netanyahu and his government. Many waved Israeli flags and held up signs with images of the Israeli hostages, calling on the government to bring them home. The government of Israel declares in its actions that it is not competent and that the good of the state and its citizens are not at the top of its mind. The protesters taking part in a demonstration titled, "Calling for Elections Now," said in a statement announcing the protest on Saturday. "We will go out to demonstrate that our future depends only on us. We the people will determine our destiny," they said. Pressure mounts. With more protests scheduled for next Saturday, the demonstrations are becoming a regular occurrence. Last spring and summer, mass weekly protests against Netanyahu and his government occurred over planned judicial reform, but were put on hold after the brutal October 7 attack. With the anger over Netanyahu's handling of the hostage crisis rising, such demonstrations could soon be returning.